A man may notice your beauty, but he'll only crave you when you touch his mind and spark his soul. Men don't fall for beauty alone. They fall for the woman who knows how to spark something deeper. Once you understand this psychology, you'll never worry about being ignored again. Men don't fall for beauty alone. They fall for the woman who knows how to spark something deeper. Once you understand this psychology, you'll never worry about being ignored again. And if you're ready to learn the secrets men will never tell you, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe before we start. Confidence is the very first spark of attraction, and it goes far beyond how you look, what you wear, or how many people pay attention to you. Confidence is the energy you carry with you, the unspoken signal that tells a man you are a woman who knows her value. A woman can walk into a room without saying a single word, and if she radiates confidence, people will naturally shift their eyes toward her. That isn't arrogance, it isn't showing off, and it isn't trying too hard. True confidence is magnetic because it feels natural, calm, and powerful all at the same time. Men are drawn to it because it represents something rare, someone who doesn't need external validation to feel good about herself. In a world where so many people are constantly seeking approval, the woman who is already secure becomes unforgettable. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Confidence doesn't mean perfection. In fact, perfection is often intimidating and feels unattainable. Real confidence is when you show up with your flaws, your quirks, your imperfect laugh, your unique way of speaking, and you own it without apology. Men notice this. When you carry yourself like you already accept who you are, you set the tone for how others will treat you. Think about it. If you walk in looking nervous, shrinking into yourself, or second-guessing every little thing, people pick up on that energy. But if you walk in tall, even with your insecurities, even knowing you're not flawless, you're showing that nothing can shake your sense of self. That quiet strength is far more alluring than any dress or hairstyle could ever be. Men in particular are deeply sensitive to confidence because it signals self-worth. A man may not consciously think, "She's confident, I want her," but subconsciously, he feels it. He feels safe around a woman who isn't desperate for attention. He feels challenged around a woman who isn't easily swayed. He feels intrigued by a woman who doesn't crumble when she's not validated. That's the psychological pull. It's not about how she looks, it's about how she makes him feel when she's in control of herself. And here's the deeper truth. When you don't need him to define you, he wants to be the one who earns a place in your world. Confidence also creates space for playfulness and ease. When you aren't obsessed with impressing him, you allow yourself to relax, to be fun, to enjoy the moment. That relaxed energy is powerful because men can sense when you're trying too hard. They know when a smile is forced, when a laugh is fake, when your attention is desperate. On the other hand, when you're centered in yourself, when you're genuinely present and not performing, you become magnetic. He sees a woman who isn't acting, who isn't wearing a mask, who is simply being herself unapologetically. That is rare, and it immediately stands out. Another layer of confidence is boundaries. A confident woman doesn't accept poor treatment. She doesn't allow herself to be disrespected, ignored, or undervalued. Instead of chasing a man who's not giving her the energy she deserves, she steps back. Instead of begging for love, she recognizes her worth and waits for the man who matches it. And you know what happens when she does this? The very man who once thought he wasn't interested begins to reconsider. He starts to realize that he can't just take her for granted. Her refusal to accept less than she deserves becomes the very quality that makes her irresistible. Confidence is also expressed through body language. The way you stand, the way you move, the way you make eye contact, it all communicates something before you even speak. A woman who avoids eye contact, slouches, or fidgets sends the message that she doubts herself. A woman who holds her gaze, who takes her time when she speaks, who doesn't rush or apologize for taking up space, that's a woman who captivates. Men feel it immediately because it's not just what you say, it's how you exist in the room. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about confidence is that it cannot be faked for long. You can pretend for a few moments, but true confidence is something you cultivate from within. It's the result of knowing your worth, of living a life that excites you, of building a strong relationship with yourself. When you do that, you don't have to act confident, you simply are. And that authenticity, that undeniable presence, is what makes men stop in their tracks, even if they weren't interested before. It's the silent magnet that pulls them towards you without you ever having to chase. Mystery is one of the most powerful forces in attraction because it keeps people engaged, curious, and leaning forward. When it comes to men, mystery works in a way that taps into their natural psychology. Men are wired to pursue, to discover, to explore. And when you give them everything too quickly, that sense of discovery disappears. If he feels like he already knows you inside and out from the first few interactions, there is nothing left for him to chase. And when there is nothing left to chase, his interest starts to fade. But when you leave space for him to wonder, when you give just enough without giving it all, he becomes invested. He begins to ask questions, to imagine, to crave more time with you just to figure you out. The beauty of mystery is that it doesn't come from playing games or being manipulative. It comes from pacing yourself. Too often, women feel pressure to overshare, to prove they are interesting or lovable by telling their whole life story up front. They reveal every detail about their past, every secret, every thought, hoping it will build closeness. But closeness doesn't come from emptying yourself on the table. It comes from creating a rhythm where both people slowly earn each other's layers. When you hold back just a little, when you let him peel away your story piece by piece, it creates anticipation. That anticipation is addictive because it awakens the part of him that wants to discover more. Mystery also lives in the way you present yourself. It is in the subtle choices, the smile that hints at a secret, the silence you let hang after a playful comment, the way you sometimes walk away at the height of a conversation instead of dragging it out. These small actions signal to him that you have depth, that there is more beneath the surface, that he hasn't fully cracked your code yet. Men love that challenge because it keeps them alert and engaged. A woman who is predictable, who gives the same responses, who is always available, quickly blends into the background, but a woman who leaves him wondering, who makes him guess a little, who keeps him on his toes, becomes unforgettable. There's also an important emotional side to mystery. Men feel most intrigued by women who are selective with their energy. When you don't rush to tell him how much you like him, when you don't instantly give away your heart, you show that your affection has value. It tells him he has to prove himself to earn more of you. That's powerful because it makes him respect the connection. It makes him feel that your attention is not something to be taken lightly. When you hold back just enough, not in a cold way, but in a graceful and playful way, he becomes curious. He begins to think about you when you're not there. He imagines what you might be doing, who you might be with, and what it would take to get closer to you. Mystery doesn't mean being distant or closed off. It doesn't mean never sharing or keeping walls up forever. It means revealing yourself in layers with intention. You give him moments of depth, but then you pull back. You let him see one side of you, but leave him wondering about the rest. That push and pull is what keeps him hooked. It's the same principle behind any great story. If the ending is revealed in the first chapter, no one keeps reading. But if each page gives just enough to excite curiosity, people cannot put it down. You are that story. The way you speak, the way you smile, the way you reveal yourself piece by piece, that is what keeps him turning the pages, eager for more. High-value energy is one of the most irresistible qualities a woman can carry because it communicates without words that she is complete on her own. A man can sense it the moment he meets you. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you prioritize your time, and the way you show that your life is already full of joy, purpose, and direction, regardless of whether or not he is part of it. When a man sees a woman with high-value energy, he doesn't just see someone attractive, he sees someone he wants to be around, someone whose world feels exciting and expansive. He feels that being near her will elevate his own life, and that instinct pulls him in deeper than physical attraction ever could. Living with high-value energy doesn't mean being arrogant or unapproachable. It means being grounded in your own worth. It's knowing that your happiness doesn't depend on a man's approval. Too often, people lose themselves in relationships because they make the other person the center of their world. They drop their passions, neglect their friendships, and put everything on hold just to secure someone's affection. But high-value women don't do this. They build their lives around their own fulfillment first. They invest in their goals, nurture their relationships outside of romance, and cultivate passions that light them up. And when a man sees that, he doesn't just feel interested, he feels inspired. There is a magnetic quality to someone who is genuinely excited about their life. Think about how attractive it is when you meet a person who lights up talking about something they love. Their energy becomes contagious. That's the kind of energy men crave in women. When he sees that you are fulfilled, that you have things that drive you, that you are not just waiting for him to bring meaning into your days, he begins to respect you. He realizes that you are not there to be rescued or completed. You are already whole. And because of that, he feels the need to rise up to your level. He begins to think, what do I have to do to deserve her time, to be part of her life? That shift is powerful because it places the dynamic in your hands. High-value energy also shows up in the way you set boundaries. When you carry yourself with worth, you don't tolerate behavior that disrespects you. You don't settle for half effort or inconsistency. Instead, you naturally demand more without ever having to beg. If he shows up poorly, you pull back. If he doesn't give you the respect you deserve, you don't argue. You simply walk away. That kind of strength is rare, and it shocks a man into realizing that he can't play games with you. He begins to understand that if he wants to be part of your world, he has to step up and bring his best self. Another layer of high-value energy is independence. It doesn't mean you don't want love. It means you don't need it to define you. When you can stand on your own, when you enjoy your own company, when you pursue your goals with or without a man by your side, you become magnetic. Men admire women who have their own thing going on. They feel challenged by it, and they want to be the man who adds to that life, not the one who takes it away. This balance creates a dynamic where he sees you not as someone to control, but as someone to cherish. What makes high-value energy so attractive is that it feels effortless. You're not performing to prove you're worthy. You're simply living in alignment with who you are, protecting your time and refusing to settle. And when you do that, you become the kind of woman who doesn't chase men, because men are too busy chasing you. The chase is one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction, yet it is hardwired into male psychology. Men are naturally wired to pursue, to work for what they value, and to feel a sense of accomplishment when they earn something worth having. When a woman understands this, she no longer feels the need to throw herself at a man's feet or overcompensate to gain his attention. Instead, she creates space for him to step into his role as a pursuer. This doesn't mean playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It simply means allowing the natural tension of attraction to unfold rather than suffocating it with desperation or over-availability. When everything is handed to someone without effort, it instantly loses its value. Think about it. If you worked hard to save money and buy something you really wanted, you would treasure it, protect it, and make sure it lasts. But if you were given the same thing for free, you might not treat it with the same care. The same psychology applies to relationships. When a man feels like he doesn't need to put in any effort because the woman is already overinvested, he loses motivation. But when she shows that her time, attention, and love have value, and that they must be earned, he rises to the challenge. He begins to chase, not because she is manipulating him, but because she is aligning with his natural drive to pursue. The chase also creates excitement. Attraction thrives on tension attention, the push and pull that keeps people intrigued. If you reply instantly to every message, always say yes to every plan, and constantly adjust your schedule around him, you remove that sense of unpredictability. But when you take your time to respond, when you sometimes prioritize your own life over his, when you don't rush to make yourself available, you show that your world doesn't revolve around him. This makes him lean in closer. He begins to wonder what you're doing, why you're not always accessible, and how he can earn more of your attention. That curiosity fuels his pursuit. Another key to the chase is restraint. It's not about withholding love, it's about pacing it. For example, if a man shows interest in you and you immediately shower him with affection, he feels like he has nothing left to work for. But if you match his energy, if you give just enough to let him know you're interested while still leaving space for him to prove himself, you keep the dynamic alive. He invests more because he feels like each step forward is rewarding, not guaranteed. The chase is also connected to respect. When a man has to put effort into winning you over, he values you more deeply. He doesn't take your presence for granted because he knows he worked for it. This respect creates a stronger foundation because relationships built on effort last longer than those built on convenience. The more a man invests in you, the more attached he becomes, because people naturally value what they put energy into. It's important to remember that letting a man chase doesn't mean ignoring him or playing distant forever. It's about balance. You show interest, but you don't overgive. You share time, but you don't abandon your own priorities. You enjoy his attention, but you don't need it to feel whole. This balance creates an irresistible dynamic where he feels challenged but also rewarded when he earns your closeness. That mix of effort and reward keeps his attraction alive and growing. When a woman understands the psychology of the chase, she stops asking, "Why isn't he interested in me?" Instead, she understands that if a man truly wants her, he will make it known. She doesn't have to force or beg for affection because she knows that her worth is best revealed when she allows him to do the pursuing. And in that pursuit, he not only discovers her value, he also proves his own. Flirty presence is one of the most powerful tools of attraction because it speaks to a man on a level deeper than words. It's the art of using energy, body language, and subtle signals to create a spark that lingers long after the interaction ends. Flirty presence isn't about being over the top, desperate, or obvious. In fact, it's often the smallest, most effortless gestures that have the strongest impact. A playful glance, a smile that seems to carry a secret, or a touch that feels casual but intentional can completely change the way a man experiences you. He might not even be able to explain why, but he feels something when you're around. Something exciting, something different, something magnetic. When you embody flirty presence, you're not trying to seduce with intensity. You're creating chemistry through suggestion. Men respond powerfully to suggestion because it leaves room for their imagination. If you walk into a room and make eye contact with him just a moment longer than necessary, his mind instantly starts to spin. If you laugh at something he says in a way that feels natural and genuine, he feels not just noticed but desired. That's what presence does. It communicates without a single word that you see him, that you enjoy the moment, and that you're comfortable in your own skin. Flirty presence also creates a playful dynamic. Men are drawn to women who can be light-hearted, who don't take every interaction so seriously, who can tease and be teased without losing their composure. This kind of energy makes him want to lean in closer, to keep the conversation going, to experience more of the fun that you bring. A small joke, a playful smile, or a witty comment can spark attraction faster than any perfectly rehearsed line. It tells him that you're not trying too hard, you're just enjoying the moment, and that enjoyment is contagious. Another important aspect of flirty presence is body language. The way you stand, the way you move, the way you use your space all contribute to the atmosphere you create around him. Leaning in slightly when he talks, tilting your head with curiosity, or letting your fingers lightly graze his hand in conversation all create micro moments of connection. They feel unplanned, almost accidental, but they they ignite something in him. It's not about seducing with intensity, it's about sparking interest with subtlety. Those little gestures signal confidence and comfort, and they draw him into your orbit without him even realizing it. Flirty presence also has an emotional layer. It's not only about touch or eye contact, it's about making him feel like he's the only person in the room when you're with him. Giving him your full attention in a playful, warm way makes him feel special, even if the conversation is casual. Men are deeply responsive to the feeling of being chosen, and your presence, when flirty and engaged, makes him believe that you're giving him a rare gift, your energy and attention. That feeling alone can make even a disinterested man start to crave more time with you. The power of flirty presence is that it leaves an imprint. He walks away from the interaction replaying your smile in his mind, remembering the way you made him laugh, or feeling the electricity from that light brush of your hand. It stays with him because it wasn't forced. It was natural, genuine, and laced with just enough playfulness to make him want more. The beauty of it is that flirty presence doesn't require you to be the loudest, boldest woman in the room. It requires you to be attuned, intentional, and fully alive in the moment. That's what captivates him. It's the subtle dance of suggestion, attention, and playfulness that transforms a simple interaction into an unforgettable memory. Emotional spark is the glue that takes attraction beyond the surface and makes it last. A man may notice a woman's beauty, he may be drawn in by her confidence or intrigued by her mystery, but what keeps him hooked, what makes him think about her when she's not around, is the way she makes him feel. Feelings are powerful anchors in the human mind, and when you ignite emotions in a man, you go from being just another woman he has met to being the woman he cannot forget. Looks fade into the background, but emotions linger. That's why creating an emotional spark is more than just chemistry. It's the key to making a man crave your presence. When you spark emotions in him, you awaken sides of his personality that he doesn't often get to express. Many men move through life guarded, logical, or even emotionally detached. They're used to being in control, to hiding their vulnerabilities, to playing it safe in interactions. But when you can bring out his laughter, when you can challenge him, when you can make him feel understood in a way that others don't, you tap into something rare. You give him permission to feel alive, and once a man associates those feelings with you, he becomes addicted to them. One way to create emotional spark is through playfulness. Humor and light-hearted teasing break down walls faster than anything else. When you make him laugh, you help him escape from the heaviness of his daily life. Suddenly, you're not just someone he's talking to, you're the person who makes him feel joy in a world that can often feel stressful. That emotional high is powerful, and he will chase it again and again. Playfulness doesn't mean being silly all the time. It means knowing when to lighten the mood, when to give him a wink instead of a serious stare, when to turn an ordinary moment into something fun. Those are the moments he replays in his head long after you're gone. Another way to ignite emotional spark is through depth. Men may not always show it, but they crave someone who sees beyond the surface. When you listen with genuine curiosity, when you ask questions that go deeper than small talk, when you show that you're not just interested in his achievements but in his passions, fears, and dreams, you create intimacy. You become more than a pretty face. You become the person he feels safe opening up to. And once he opens up, once he feels seen in a way that few others allow him to, he bonds with you emotionally. That bond becomes difficult to break because people don't easily forget the ones who understood them when no one else did. Challenge is another element of emotional spark. A man doesn't feel alive when everything is too easy. He thrives when he has to rise to the occasion, when he feels a woman's presence pushes him to be sharper, better, more attentive, when you hold him accountable, when you don't just nod at everything he says, but question him, playfully disagree, or push him to think in new ways. You stimulate his mind. That mental stimulation creates excitement because he never feels bored around you. And boredom is the enemy of attraction. The key to emotional spark is variety. It's not just making him laugh, it's not just going deep, and it's not just challenging him, it's weaving all of it together. It's the playful moment that turns into a meaningful conversation. It's the deep talk that ends with a shared laugh. It's the little disagreements that turn into flirtatious teasing. This variety creates a roller coaster of emotions, and men remember roller coasters. They remember the high and the thrill because it's so different from flat, predictable interactions. When you master the art of creating emotional spark, you're no longer just a woman he's interested in for a moment. You become the woman who makes his heart race, who makes him think, who makes him feel alive. And when a man feels that with you, he doesn't just want you, he fights to keep you. At the heart of it all, making a man want you, even when he isn't interested at first, is never about chasing him, convincing him, or losing yourself just to hold his attention. It's about stepping fully into your own power and becoming the kind of woman who is magnetic by nature. Confidence makes him notice you. Mystery keeps him intrigued. High-value energy sets the standard. The chase awakens his desire to earn you. Flirty presence creates chemistry in the moment. An emotional spark makes you unforgettable. Together, these qualities form a force that no man can ignore. You don't beg for attention. You don't prove your worth. You embody it. And when you do, you shift the dynamic completely. He goes from distracted and uninterested to wondering how he could ever let you slip away. The truth is, you don't need to make a man want you. You only need to show up as the woman who inspires him to rise, to chase, to commit. When you live this way, you'll never settle for being an option because you'll always stand out as the woman who cannot be replaced.